Peace and praise, blessed ones. This is Review with BLAiR, and today we are going to review His and Hers. Spoiler alert. It's been about a week now since the Netflix limited show has premiered. And I do have to give a shout out to Netflix, man. Like, they did a good one on this, and I feel like it was good. But here's the thing I want to say first. I know people always talk about there's always three sides of the story: your side, their side, and the truth. And I always said that there's only two sides, and that is the truth and the lie. So whether it's his or hers, theirs or ours, whoever it is, like there's always going to be something fabricated. I'm an advocate for telling the truth. I'm an advocate for seeking the truth. And I really just want to say, like, this show had me on the edge of the seats. And I seen this show on Netflix, and I wasn't really sure what it was until I heard about it on another podcast. And sometimes I'll get my references from that. Like, I seen, I didn't really, I wasn't sure what it was. I don't even think I was interested in watching it at first. But then when I found out about it, like, I was like, all right, look, they was talking about all the twist, and the twist was twisting. So I took it among myself to watch it yesterday on the 14th of July. I'm sorry, January. I'm sitting here thinking about my birthday of January, and I did binge it, and it was good. I actually thought it was great writing, and the twist was twisting. And I'm gonna get into this, and I'm gonna let y'all know that this is a spoiler. So if y'all aren't interested in spoilers and y'all can't stay off the internet, don't watch this video. So first, I can never think of the gentleman's name. He played the Punisher. He been in some other he been in some other shows. But I want to give a shout out to him. Tessa Thompson, she's a great actress. Part of the Marvel family. Matter of fact, both of them are part of the Marvel family. So that's the thing. He's on Punisher. I want to say he's on Daredevil. I think he's on a new Spider-Man movie that's coming out soon. But first episode, off the bat, a lot of suspense. And there's always that one thing that will say, you know what, this is too obvious. This isn't the killer. This isn't the killer. Because, like I said, I didn't know who the killer was, but just people talking about it, they was talking about how there was a twist in it. And like I said, when I started looking into it, I started reviewing the trailer. I started watching it, and I'm like, nah, it can't be her. So the show is about this woman who was murdered, and the detective Jack Harper. I did take notes. The detective Jack Harper has to find out who it was, and him and his wife Anna Andrews, she's a reporter, and the whole backstory is, right, they're married, They had a child, and the child passed away. The child was only 6 months, and she disappeared for a year after that. And then I want to say episode 5, they kind of have a conversation about that as far as to like what was really going on. But the thing is that I really enjoyed the suspense of it. It had my boy Andy Belflor from True Blood up there. He played the husband of the woman, Rachel. And then I want to say episode 2, there's another character, Helen, and we find out that Anna and Helen and Rachel all went to school together, and Jack, his sister, went to school with them. There was another girl that was in the friend group. But what was crazy is Rachel was stabbed 40 times. So when you stab somebody 40 times, that's really like personal. That's not like an impulsive thing. That's like, oh, this is personal. And then, it goes on to like different, like every episode is kind of like, okay, who's the killer? You have first, it could be Anna, then it could be Jack, then you have Duffy, who was played by, that's the husband, the deceased, and then you might have Helen Wang, and then they had something going on, and then you find out that she died in the third episode. She's dead. And figure out who kills her. The crazy thing about it though too is the detective Boston or Priya Patel. She's the MVP of the show because she you gotta be careful when you tell people like, hey, do your job, do your job. But then she kind of started suspecting that it could have been Jack because when you find out on the show that Jack was banging Rachel while Anna was on her year hiatus, and then she comes back in town trying to get her job back. There's a reporter that took her job, anchor job. The dude that played, and I don't remember his name. He looks like Frazier, but it's not. He was in House Party, but he's the boss, and he made Anna, she didn't make it, but she wanted to do, the field. So what Anna does is she takes the girl Lexi's husband to be her cameraman. And then they started smashing. That's the crazy thing. Like it was so great. Like I'm trying to stick to the season, but there's a lot of sex going on the show. Not necessarily that much nudity, but there's a lot of sex going on in the show, a lot of suspense. Those are the type of shows that I like, man. Like the twisters were twisting. Like you might think on this episode, oh, this is the killer. Then the next episode, this is the killer. And the thing about it, they did do flashbacks when they was in school. You have Anna's mother, Miss Alice. She apparently has dementia, right? Because I want to say Jack had talked about how she was found walking on the middle of the road butt naked, and she doesn't remember or recall anything, and that's crazy. And but anyway, like I said, she's a housekeeper or a house cleaner. She cleaned she cleaned Rachel's home. She cleaned the school. So her, doing that, and I think she did mention her husband and his father at some point. I think later in the series. So they never showed him though. So I'm not sure if he's dead or what, but she mentioned Miss Alice mentioned him, but like I said, she was going to this all girls school, St. Mary's. That Helen, the other friend who ended up being the head mistress, and this is like 20 years ago. Let me give y'all a timeline. It's the early 2000s. Anna, Rachel, Helen, Zoe, and Catherine. It's 5 girls. 3 of the girls are like they're the mean girls, and the crazy thing about it is they never said Zoe's name in the flashback, but you kind of figured out that she was part of the film group because again, when the episode started progressing, you realize that that's Zoe. That Zoe has a daughter. She's a single mother, and Zach. Jack. He ended up moving in with her after Anna left. But so there's 5 girls, and then like 3 of them, they're like the mean girls or the whatever girls. But it's mainly it's mainly just Helen and Rachel. Rachel is a piece of work. I'll tell you that. Rachel is like, I'm not somebody who thinks you need to die behind being a bully or doing stuff, but for the sake of the concept of the show, she got what she deserved. You know what I'm saying? Like, you reap what you sow, but it is what it is. Now, my thing, my thing that I took away from the show, from all the episodes, is it keeps you on your toes. It kind of makes you think because, like I said, I remember, like I said, Rachel and Helen and Zoe, they was like a 3 friend group, mean girls, and then they ended up embracing Anna off the strength of Miss Alice. So when you see the flashbacks, you kind of realize it's okay. Anna's cool. She's not a mean girl, but she's just kind of like, you ever have friends that does stuff that you don't really agree with or don't know about, but they're your friends, so you kind of not, you're not really stopping them. You're not really like trying to say, hey, you're messed up for doing this, because you got to remember, these are young women, and of course, in these times, in the early 2000s, and even before, children are impressionable, and like I said, this is all girls school, so you got to kind of get in where you fit in. So Catherine, and this is the thing, I originally thought that, now Catherine had a sister, and they mentioned that on the show, how Catherine had a sister that was cool. They didn't really necessarily show her until the 5th episode. It was like I said, this is a flashback. So the thing about it is, Catherine was a big girl, and you know how people feel about big girls, especially in you know this day and age. And Zoe and Anna had a conversation about there's a secret that that they was that was going on. And then to me, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, don't tell me they killed somebody. Don't tell me they killed Catherine, whether it was an accident or not. And what really stood out too, going back to episode 2, when Anna went to go to her mother's house to check on her and stuff like that, she finds this videotape, and it's Anna and Rachel in the house. Apparently, this is her 16th birthday. And then they, like I said, they was doing flashbacks throughout the whole series, not long flashbacks, but it's going to make sense at the end, right? So I'm watching it. I'm now sitting here thinking, I said, okay, I know about the twist. I probably shouldn't have known about the twist. So I'm saying, I'm like, is Catherine's sister? Did they kill Catherine and her sister seeking revenge? That was one of my suspenses. I was like, because they talked about, because there's a particular point where Lexi said, because she was late, nobody can get in touch with her, so Anna was actually about to get her anchor job back, but then she showed up at the last minute. She was like, "Yeah, my sister had a baby. I had to babysit my niece or something," and then Anna brought it up to Richard, who is Lexi's husband, also Anna's videographer, and then he said she don't have a sister. Like 20 years ago, she had a sister, and I'm like, oh shoot, is she Catherine's sister? Because like I said, there was I never felt like the husband Duffy was a killer. Like he was just on some some freak stuff, but he was dealing with like Helen and Rachel and like all that other stuff, like with blackmail and everything. But here's the thing: when I tell you this, you're gonna be like, "Oh crap!" Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Nobody died except for Catherine's sister. Catherine's sister died, and I think that Catherine, when they did the flashback with Catherine, because at the last episode, when Richard had to take Anna to the in-laws' home, you find out that Lexi, who's now attractive, fit, and she's doing it. Lexi and Catherine are the same people, and I'm like, oh, that's a twist. That's a twist that I didn't see coming. Like I said, the flashback at the house, Catherine kept, Andrea's, that's Catherine's sister, had asthma or whatever, and Andrea said something to Catherine as far as about like, you need to stop, stuffing your face and do this or whatever. And then she didn't like it very much, so she just kept kind of squeezing the air that out of the inhaler. So then Andrea died due to suffocation. But Anna figured it out, and she called Jack. Now they had an estranged marriage because remember, their daughter died. She was 6 months old, and the partner Patel suspected that it was Jack. Because he was smacked like the night that Rachel was murdered. She just got murdered like maybe a couple minutes after her and Jack was smashing. And Anna seen it. She came back in town and seen it. She was visiting the baby's grave, and she seen it. So that explained the first scene of this episode of the show. And my thing though is, remember when I said Miss Alice had dementia? She was found walking, in the middle of the road, naked and whatnot. That now comes back to the reveal. The murder who killed Rachel, who killed Helen, who ended up killing Zoe, was all Miss Alice, Anna's mother. And the motive is, this was a revenge story. So like when you're thinking about this, when you watch the show, you kind of probably think that, okay, this is about, these women getting murdered. Nobody know who the killer is, but this got to be a revenge story. Like And then like at the end, because like when I found out, like I'm like, okay, yeah, they got the killer. Like so I thought it was like Lexi Catherine or whatever, and I'm like, okay, she's dead. Beginning of the last episode, and I'm like, nah, yo, it can't be like I don't think it's her. I think something else is gonna like somebody else is gonna like kind of come out, or they're gonna figure something else out because when I don't think I ever recall a killer being revealed earlier in the episode or whatnot, but it's like it was just something was what was off about it. Now if I didn't know that there wasn't a twist, then I probably still would have thought like, okay, no, there's something else going on. Because the way it ended was just kind of like it wasn't dramatic or nothing. It was just like you did. The husband's going to jail, but you gotta be mindful. There was something that Miss Alice had said in the letter. No one's gonna suspect a fragile old lady who they think has dementia. Like she was playing that so well, like forgetting the plastic in the eggs. Um, she stripped down naked. When she killed Rachel, she wasn't naked. She stripped down naked, and then even after, like there was another part of the because I thought it was her at first. At one point, I'm like, what if she killed her? She's walking out in the night, don't know where she's at. Because sometimes, people black out. I mean, I didn't think that she didn't have dementia, but I felt like maybe she's doing it. But at the end of the series, when they revealed it, I was just kind of like, yo, what's going on? And like I said, Patel, she was getting all the clues, figuring out all the clues, all the evidence that Jack was trying to cover up. Patel revealed it. She found out that he was going back to the morgue to get a ring that he didn't lose. She was questioning him and everything. He was getting aggravated. The funny thing though is the husband, Richard, he had an assault for breaking a woman's jaw, and I didn't really suspect him at all. I feel like he could have been an accomplice to Lexi because again because like I said when she lied, because the thing is when you lie and then it's found out that you was lying, it makes you look guilty. So I'm sitting here thinking, I said, wow. So my only thing is she had to watch. She talked about her sister, and you had to watch a baby, and it's like, nah. So that was the only thing because Lexi couldn't. Like, where was her motive as far as like why she leave her phone and wasn't responding? But she just she went to reclaim. But like I said, the motive for Miss Alice was like I said, revenge. Remember when I talked about the tapes that Anna was looking at on episode 2? Miss Alice explained where all she had left of her daughter was these tapes, and you know when they was younger, they had film. Anna was recording, stuff that was going on, documenting, certain things, and Miss Alice came across it, and the secret that Zoe and Anna talked about was dealing with Anna's 16th birthday with the whole thing of there was these guys that came to this location where the girls, all 5 girls, Zoe, Helen, Rachel, Anna, Catherine all went to I guess enjoy. And then these three guys came in and they first attacked Catherine, and Anna was trying to stop, like stop them. It's like, okay, yeah, you can't do this. Okay, now this, we ain't messing around. Like, don't do this. And then Catherine got away. The men ended up going for Anna then, and Rachel and Helen and Zoe was watching these men rape Anna. And now, mind you, Miss Alice is just now finding this out in the current time. And maybe that's why they wasn't friends anymore. And the crazy thing is, Catherine, Lexi, she didn't believe that Anna didn't know anything about this because she kind of just left her. And I guess that was her whole issue with her. Like, Lexi knew who all the girls were, but the girls didn't know who she was. Like I said, when you lose weight, when you start looking good and you start kind of, you can be unrecognizable. That's pretty much what Catherine did. And the crazy thing is, like I said, I thought it was her sister killing the girl. But the crazy thing is, Catherine killed her sister, and they actually made it seem as though like she was the murderer, because even with the letters, when it said there's always two sides of the story, and they say sometimes when bad things happen to you, that can give you a reason to do bad things, and the same thing applies to killing. And went on to the next episode. And the thing about that though is that whole thing was Miss Alice that was writing the letter, and then she was talking about how, like I said, she wanted to find out. She wanted to, you know, just wanted her daughter back. She wanted to see her because nobody was hearing from her. Nobody knew what she was. She was gone for a year. She was grieving. Everybody grieves differently. So these are all things that are clues. Because again, I don't know what I'd do if something happened to, my son, yo. Like, it's very emotional. But the thing about it is, Miss Alice killed Rachel, slits Helen's neck, drowned Zoe in the bathtub because you don't suspect a old woman to a woman in it at all, but you don't expect the old woman with dementia, and turns out she didn't have dementia, but you don't expect an old woman with dementia to do this. So that's the perfect crime. Nobody's gonna suspect you. So when Anna's reading the letter, it's crazy how it looks. It goes from confused to scared, sadness, and then it was like kind of like that smirk, like, I understand. I love you. Okay. Your secret's safe with me. So like that's the mother and daughter bond. Sometimes you will, like, I think about certain things where it's like, when something tragic if something tragic happens to me, and then my parent finds out about it. So they decide they want to go ahead and get revenge for my sake. Because the crazy thing is, the mother knew Lexi was Catherine, and the thing about it is, she wasn't like, I don't, I think she's like, she didn't expect the partner Patel, Boston or whatever, to be such a good shot, because Lexi got shot by Patel. When Anna and Lexi was rumbling. It was a pretty decent fight, just kind of like pushing each other, going through glass, rolling around. But man, this is a terrible review. But she got shot in the head, and it was it. But I'm like that. I'm like, dang, that seems kind of. But see, she didn't expect that. Miss Alice didn't expect that. So my thing is, that was her motive. Like she's just finding this out now. This happened 20 years ago, but no, y'all mistreated my daughter, and like I said, children, you can tell children, hey, how was your day? What happened? Some parent, like the parent and child relationship sometimes can be, you know, you don't really tell your parents things like that. And like even when Anna was explaining to Jack about what happened on Sweet 16 birthday, she said that Catherine got attacked by the men, which she did, but she didn't tell Jack that the men ended up sexually assaulting her, raping her. So the thing with that is like that gives motive because if you have your friend, because like you got to be such a piece of crap of a person to set something up for so long, and because you on some freak stuff, you're and I don't think they knew that they was being recorded or whatever. But the crazy thing is they was watching her get raped. And going back again to Duffy, the husband, he was gonna get black. They was trying to do stuff with him being blackmailed as far as like him and Helen and Rachel. They had some type of dominatrix thing going on. But like I said, I never thought it was the husband. I mean, he was creepy. He was doing some slick stuff, trying to like cover up something else. But when Jack revealed and found out and started talking to him and saying these things, I was like, yeah, he's not. I mean, I knew that the husband wasn't. I mean, he just didn't really want people to know about the sex tape or whatever. But the thing about it is, Miss Alice played us real good. The writing was good. I thought, the characters did a good job. The crazy thing is, I thought Helen was gonna, I just thought it was just gonna be about Rachel being killed and they trying to figure out who killed Rachel. But the fact that Helen and Zoe both passed, got killed, that was one of the things I'm like, dang, that's kind of crazy. And Bless, like I said, Anna and Jack rekindled their relationship. They ended up adopting Zoe's daughter. They ended up with, Anna was ended up pregnant again. I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't mind a second season of this, but they keep like there's not gonna be another season of this. I don't think there's gonna be another season of this. Good writing. I'm not exactly sure who wrote it, but shout out to Netflix for having this film, this show series, because it was a great series. But like I said, if you made it this far, I do appreciate y'all watching. It wasn't really necessarily a review. It was more just so like, hey, I'm about to spoil this whole thing. The killer's Miss Alice. I think that was a great twist. It's not who you think it is. That's the thing. Like, you think you know somebody, but you got to be careful how you treat people. Like, I know people talk about like it's a cliche, but don't be a piece of crap. Some not everybody's not your cup of tea, but you can't treat people as if they're not people. And I know when you're a child, you think as a child, and when whether you're a teenager or whatever, but sometimes the entitled, the privileged, don't really understand how entitled and privileged they are until it's too late. But that was really like what stood out as kind of like, man, everything ain't what it seems to be. Everybody's a suspect. Everybody is a suspect until you found because there was clues. And I didn't notice the BLAiR footprints, but the thing is, you got to be careful. His and hers. There's always two sides of a story: the lie and the truth. You gotta stay safe, prosperous, productive, and positive. And please be kind. Love y'all.